you think about your day like a balloon. So you wake up and it's already probably getting full because maybe the alarm clock rubbed you the wrong way, and then it just continually, expands. And what we need to do is create little holes in our day where we can like poke the balloon so we can kind of release that, so that when we get home with our families, we aren't like explosive.
It's going to be a really neat behind the scenes.
And I was like, oh my gosh, this is so weird.
Because something always magical happens.
Wait, what? Did you just make that up? Hey, it's Meredith for Real, the Curious Introvert. Listen each week as I talk with someone new. The topics are as ADD as I am, but they'll inspire you to stay curious and grow.
Hey, Curiositors, it's me, Meredith. Let's talk about mental health. So many of us tend to think that for each problem, there is one solution. And therefore, if we try something and it doesn't work that time, it will never be a solution. But the truth is, we all need lots of tools in our tool belt so that on any given day we can try different things and see if they work. Kind of like having a full medicine cabinet. The other truth is that just as it isn't one thing that causes one mental health condition, it's often not one solution that solves it. So this episode is the first of my mental health series now through December. And my sincere hope is that these episodes provide inspiration for you to find the tools that you need. Some of the episodes will be problem-driven, some will be solution-driven, and one is one person's personal journey that I found super encouraging. And these episodes are like the juicy, make you want to rewind and take notes kind of episodes. So if you're not already getting my weekly emails, now is a good time because all of the stuff you want to write down but you can't because you're driving or already multitasking, yeah, that's the stuff in the Saturday email. It includes clickable links and resources and rabbit trails that you'll definitely want to get. So just pause this real quick and text REAL, R-E-A-L, to 66866, and you're in. All right, on with the show. If you've been listening to the show for a while, you might remember my next guest from episode 24, How Not to Lose Your Shit During COVID-19. She gave us some tips that I'm still hearing all of you talk about and personally that I'm still using. And she's back because, well, it ain't over. And we got more stuff we got to work through. And we got Thanksgiving coming up. And we got Uncle Bob is going to want to talk about politics at the Thanksgiving dinner table. And we've got lots of parents homeschooling. So, we got to work through some issues. So we have licensed mental health counselor here to help us learn how not to worry when the world is ending. Phaedra Smith, everybody. Thanks for coming.
Thank you for having me.
Hey, remember that one time that we did a podcast episode together and we thought COVID was going to last like 3 months? Yeah. Wasn't that so cute?
Yeah. And we're here.
And we're here and we're still dealing with everything. So I'm always surprised when I hear people tell me that they're fine.
Yeah.
I'm like, oh, you're fine? You must not be fine.
What pills are you taking?
Exactly. So can we start there? How do we know if we're not fine?
Well, number one, you could probably ask the people around you because they probably know first. And they're like, no, you're not fine. So, but for me, one of the biggest things and kind of learning things for me was learning how to check in with myself. Like having that moment that I can just sit and be quiet, because oftentimes we keep busy as an avoidance kind of like distraction technique and we don't know we're doing it. But if you sit with yourself long enough and you ask yourself like, how am I doing? Are my shoulders always tense? Am I having these constant headaches? And so just checking in with your emotions and your body, like that's like what we call body work. Like am I sitting down and am I allowing myself to take a couple deep breaths and I'm monitoring my thinking. So I think my biggest thing would be, and this is what I tell all my clients, is we have to sit down and check in with ourselves.
That's so true. And see what physical symptoms, emotional symptoms, check in with your family members. Yes. I would sometimes get an eye twitch. when things would not be going well for myself, but that I would do exactly what you're talking about, be so busy. There was a time where I even got heart palpitations. The Sudafed was part of that, to be perfectly transparent. Right. but it was all of those things together. My body was trying to talk to me. So you're saying definitely check in with the physical symptoms, check in with your relationships.
Absolutely.
What would be some good questions to ask people in our life other than like, I'm good, right? I'm good, right? Like, in a threatening, and they're like, yes, you're fine. You're so loving.
You're perfect.
Nothing is wrong.
Well, I tell my clients this. I had this one time where I was having like a toddler tantrum, and I was like, I was not okay. And for me, I finally was just like, I'm not okay, am I? And my husband was like, no, maybe you should take a nap. And I was like, I think I need to take a nap. But being transparent with your significant other or friends and saying, I don't know, I'm feeling a little off. Like, have you noticed anything with me lately? Like, have I been a little different? And so I know with COVID-19 going on, people are being affected in different ways. And myself, in the last 2 months, I've lost at least 10 people, which seems absurd. But
what do you mean you've lost 10 people?
Oh, people have died.
Are you serious?
Yeah.
Wow.
Yeah, I was talking to my therapist, and she's Caucasian. She was like, what? She was like, that is not how my world looks at all. And I was like, yes, in the African American community, people are legit dying. Like, they are getting ill from COVID, they're going into the hospital, and they are not coming out.
Wow.
So I was avoiding, I thought I was dealing with it, but I wasn't. And so for me, I started to just feel myself. And then I have people in my life. So I'm working out with a personal trainer, and he was like, you've been a little kind of checked out. But having people in your life that know you and that know your character and your personality, to be able to say, are you okay? I think it's good for you to ask questions, but also having those people in your circle that are going to be like, are you okay? Because you just don't seem quite like yourself. And that allows you to that prompts you to also kind of sit back and say, am I okay?
Yeah.
But you have to be willing to do that. You have to be willing to sit with yourself and say, am I okay? And then I told myself, no, I need to be back in therapy, And so I don't often share. I'm not always vulnerable with everyone because that's not safe. But my therapist was like, how are you doing? And I was like, I'm not okay. And I just broke down. But I needed that. And so, I think having that, those people in your life that know you and that, will help you check in is also helpful.
Whether it's professional, like you said, your therapist, or just people in your life that you maybe given permission ahead of time.
Absolutely.
Hey, if I ever act off, would you please be a part of my team? I promise I will not bite your head off. Yeah, exactly.
Yes. Yeah.
And then, you have to keep your end of the deal with that, which is kind of hard sometimes. Yeah. But I love that you ask open-ended questions like, what was it you said? Wasn't have I been acting different lately? How did you word that?
I don't know, but maybe
it was good. Well, good thing this is recorded. We can play it back.
How have I been lately? Have you noticed anything different about me? So even when he said that was like the prompt. It prompted me to go a little bit further. Yeah. And then because sometimes some people, even though they love you, they won't necessarily say anything. But giving people permission.
Yeah, and sometimes they, maybe they're also dealing with their own set of things, as we all are, that we don't think to, just like you said, your therapist is white, and so she is a woman.
Yes.
So she didn't realize the impact that the African American community is feeling with COVID-19, among a million other things.
Right.
So that your burdens are not her burdens, and it's like we gotta kind of set down our own burdens just momentarily long enough to ask other people, hey, are you okay?
Like, what does your world look like? You know?
Oh, that's a good one. I like that.
I like that too. That just came.
That's good.
Yeah.
Well, we got it recorded, so it's documented. What does your world look like? Mm-hmm. Yeah. So figuring out if you're okay and checking in with yourself. When you check in with yourself, what does that look like for you being a busy woman? Because you've got kids, you've got a professional career, you've got a lot of, you're working out, which kudos, because I don't think a lot of people are making time for that. I know from talking with you off mic, you're taking care of yourself personally. So what are your systems or rituals to daily check in with yourself and see how things are going?
Well, the blessing for me is that I am a therapist, so pretty much all my sessions are like, all right, let's take a moment and breathe, you know? And so like I'm doing it for them, but I'm also for me, so I can just get myself together. But in those moments, I get to be mindful, you know? But even outside of that, we were talking a little bit earlier, and like yesterday I watched church online, and then afterwards I was sitting in my office and I just started painting, you know, but that was me checking in with myself and allowing whatever is in me to like sort of come out, you know, artistically. And so I think for people, it might look different, you know, depending on what your passion is or what your skill set is. But I think it starts with just sitting down and allowing quiet to kind of settle in, you know, and allowing for things to come up that need to come up, you know. And again, like I say, a lot of times we try to avoid that because of fear. We don't know what will come up, or we discount emotions. So, but making time for quiet.
Yeah, I think fear is a big one why people don't check in. Fear that you can't come back.
Absolutely.
You know, fear that if you let it go for a minute or acknowledge it, that it will take over you.
Absolutely.
And then you won't be able to do all the things that you have to do.
Right.
Which, you know, in a day, which are a lot. And especially, you know, in Pensacola too, we've got this extra stress that sounds so hilarious on the outside, but I'm talking about the bridge that was ruined by the Skanska barges, y'all. But it really has added so much stress to our local community as well, because 15-minute commutes have become hour commutes on top of all of the other things going on. So it can be hard to check in. So I think figuring out what part of your day that is the most practical for you, that you can create the most space, would be key. You know, for some people it might have to be evening, which might mean not watching your favorite show right away. Right. Which, as funny as, I mean, there's all these little things that we don't realize are prohibitive.
Yes. Yeah. I remember my pastor was saying for every yes for something, that's a no for something else. Mm-hmm. And so I think you have to decide to say yes to mental health. You know, and so sometimes there's a time and a season for, you know, watching Netflix and completely checking out to the world. But there's also a time and a season for turning off Netflix and being into yourself and saying, you know, what do I need? Because maybe I'm not okay, or maybe I am okay, but I don't know that until I check in with myself. You know?
Exactly. Or maybe the solution to being better is more easily accessible than you realize. Yes. Avoidance, for me personally, makes mountains out of molehills. You know, it makes it like, oh, this is so complicated, it's going to take so much time. And when I start to have that thought process, I know I'm procrastinating, which is just this weird stress response that's literally the most unhelpful thing that my body could do. Like, oh, let's just put off everything. Yeah, yeah. And let you think about everything at once, but nothing at all. So helpful. Thanks, brain. Love you. Mean it. Not really.
I love it.
Saying yes to mental health. So what are the consequences of not saying yes to mental health?
I think it's exactly what you mentioned. It's like a total shutdown. It really is. It's you know, binging on Netflix because now you can't do anything else. You know, I always say your body is going to take what it needs eventually. It's going to somehow. And so I think giving yourself those moments to sort of breathe. And one of the things I tell my clients is I say, if you think about your day like a balloon, so you wake up and it's already probably getting full because maybe the alarm clock rubbed you the wrong way, and then it just continually, expands. And what we need to do is create little holes in our day where we can like poke the balloon so we can kind of release that, so that when we get home with our families, we aren't like explosive, So I think taking moments when you're in the car to do some breathing or to like not put on the radio because, sometimes the brain doesn't know the difference between like good noise and bad noise, and when I say noise, I mean stressors, so again, that quiet time can allow you to kind of like release the air, from the balloon so that you aren't explosive and so that you can think clearly and you can have empathy and you have room for other people and their worlds and their stressors, So
the consequence would be the opposite of all of those things
Right.
that you just said,
Right.
pushing the people out of your life.
Absolutely.
Because you didn't have room for them because I love the balloon analogy.
Yeah.
Your analogy is so good. This is why people, even though we recorded, our first episode months ago, they still like, the thing, and they'll mention something about the episode, and I'm like, yes, I know. I literally, the energy was the one that I remember the most is stress and depression and anxiety, their energy, you have to give them respect and let them go somewhere. Right. And that's when I started running. But then it turned into 1,000 degrees, and I quit that immediately because I was like, this is gross. I'm gross. I don't want to do this. But anyway, negative consequences, pushing people out of your life. So there's definitely relationship consequences. You mentioned exploding when you come home because you kind of saved it all up.
Right.
Until the end. What about physically consequences in your body of not saying yes to mental health?
I think it's the same thing. I think you're that energy, it can be toxic. You're not letting it go. We're not meant to just be pent up all the time. And so your body will physically respond to that. Maybe it looks like headaches. Maybe it looks like body aches, tension. And so I do think that a lot of illnesses and things like that, they start from just possibly stress, like just prolonged stress. Like that's not how our bodies were made, So I think if you look at mental health and you see it in a different light, that it also affects your physical health, then you make it more of a priority for you, So
if you respect it as you would your arm got cut off.
Correct.
Then you will treat it with a little bit more urgency.
Correct.
That's
so
I've
told my clients before, because they'll go through this trauma or something and they'll still be like, I feel like I should be able to, and I say, well, if you broke your arm, would you still go out and play baseball, or would you kind of sit down until it healed? And they were like, well, I'd sit down, or I'd go to the doctor. And I say, well, why is your mental health any different? Mm-hmm. Sometimes you're not in the season where you're capable of doing certain things, but yet we try to force it on ourselves because we have these expectations that were, passed down through generations or, from our parents or whatever. But sometimes we're not there. We're in triage. We're in, we have the cast on, so allowing yourself to be where you are is so important,
Be where you are.
Be where you are.
That's so good and so true. And that's a great way to check in.
Right.
That's why I think having those rituals daily is built in
right.
and accepted, and maybe even a part of the family ritual can almost give us permission as adults
right.
to take care of what would, take care of our mental health as we would a broken arm.
Correct.
Like, nope, mom's got a cast on her foot. She cannot bring the groceries in. Sorry. Yeah, nope, this is mom's meditation hour. Mm-hmm. Don't lock on the door unless you're burning, barfing, or bleeding. Correct. Those were the 3 Bs my mom always used to say. So
it just rolled off the tongue.
Well, that's clearly because I've been brainwashed by it. So, yeah.
Hey everyone, just a quick interruption to show gratitude to our sponsors and give you some special deals. So I don't have kids, but I also want to tell you about It's Your Magazine. They're a national family-centered publishing company with free parent magazines. They have parenting advice, events, and inspiration. I'm actually in a networking group with the publisher, and this guy is all about family. You can view a free magazine in cities in Texas, Oregon, Washington, and Florida by checking them out at itsyourmagazine.com. And INSEC. So I've always felt iffy about pesticides. Then the mosquitoes got so bad, I would get covered in them from walking from my house to the car. I called INSEC, and to say I've been impressed is an understatement. When the treatment wasn't quite doing it, the owner actually came to my house. He found the breeding sites, identified the species of mosquito, and adjusted my treatment to that species. That's when I found out he's also a beekeeper, and pollinator issues are always top of mind. So if you're in the Florida Panhandle or Gulf Coast of Alabama, give him a call, ensec.net. Now back to the show.
What are some rituals that you've helped some of your clients create or that you yourself have built into the fabric of your daily life?
For me, first of all, I think that you reach points in your life where there's high stress like Hurricane Sally and it throws you off. So I'm getting back to my rituals. So for me personally, my relationship with God is a big thing. So I have tried to now put back into my life time in the mornings, for, just reading my Bible and getting on my treadmill, listening to music. But also I think, so that's one, scheduling in time. And so we talked about this last time, being intentional. Like, that's what it is. It's like, you just have to. Scheduling a lunch break. So for those of you that are entrepreneurs and you just you go, setting a time to say, no, this is my time to eat, or this is a time I'm going to cut off to spend with my family. And then this is what our time is going to look like. So things like that. So scheduling things in. Also, I think when we talk about rituals, some of the things I've talked to my clients about is creating a box, creating a prayer box or a box where, the things that are out of our control, like the bridge or, the stressor, the many stressors in our life that we have no control over, but they are affecting us. So how are you going to be intentional about letting those things go throughout your day? What is that going to look like for you? Is it that you're going to create a container just in your head? What does that container look like? Is it gray? What does it look like on the inside? And so when those thoughts come up of things that you can't control that would normally put stress on your body and give you anxiety or kind of fill you with rage or whatever, taking that and putting that in the container, either to deal with later with a professional or to deal with when you're having your quiet time, or if it's a literal box or a prayer box, writing those things down and putting them in the box and, saying that I'm not going to pick those things up unless I'm praying over them, So I do think small things like that matter. Our bodies react to us allowing it to have that release. How are you allowing yourself to have that release? Is it coming out in the form of you yelling at your children and your spouse? How is it? It's coming out. You just might not know,
So by giving your body
yes.
an activity,
yes,
a task,
mm-hmm.
You can use that to almost as a vehicle for the emotions to go, albeit temporarily,
right,
in some cases. So you could have a physical box where you mm-hmm. wrote down things that bugged you or worried you or made right. you angry and just dump them in the box.
Yeah.
Do you feel as I'm saying this out
yes.
loud, I'm hearing
yes.
voices in my head a little bit of someone going, oh, I'll just use my phone. I don't know whose voice that is, but it's somebody's voice.
I love it.
So what's the difference between actually writing that down and just using your phone? Is it different?
To me, it is. I mean, my phone comes with me. Like, I need to, like, physically put it somewhere.
Maybe we need to put our phone in the box.
Maybe the phone needs to go in there. It's the act of letting go. So it's like, because that's one of the big problems. We don't know how to let things. I don't know how to let things go sometimes, you know. And so it's physically saying, okay, I let that go. But then how do you, like, manifest it in the real world, you know? And so I think doing that is so helpful. Just that act of doing it. It is like allowing yourself to see yourself release it, you know, and it's sort of like those, at times you'll see therapists have people write things on paper and then burn it and stuff. It's sort of like that. Like, that's
like every church retreat ever.
Absolutely. It's got to be implemented.
It has to.
It's not let go unless it's burned.
Is it youth group if we didn't write things down and burn them? I mean,
no,
it's not. It doesn't count.
Mm-mm. So, I am not faithful in doing that all the time, but that is my plan to make a prayer box. Someone told me, like, a good name would be to the let shit go box.
Oh, I like it.
So for someone that doesn't want to make a prayer box, the let shit go box might be
I love that so
awesome,
much.
You know? So, I just think it's a cool thing to do, and you get to teach your kids to do it too. If you have kids and you want to do that, teach them to let it go. Like, we all need to have that skill set.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, and I love that it could even be something you did. You know, when you talk about creating a new habit, people often talk about attaching that new habit to an anchor habit. Yes. So meaning, like, you probably brush your teeth every day, hopefully. So, and you want to start taking vitamins. Right. So you put the vitamins next to the toothbrush because the toothbrush is the anchor habit, and then you create that new habit. So when you come home, if you have dinner together, not the best example, most families don't have dinner together, right. But that's the best thing I got right now. So let's just go with it. So you have dinner together. The box could be a pre-dinner ritual.
I love
and
it.
And then everyone comes to the table. This obviously is an example from 1950s because no one comes to that's how I grew up. And my husband and I, we sometimes eat at the table together too. So I can't think of a better example. But hopefully there's a practical application for a listener that it could be a family affair. And I think that's key too in creating habits in my own life is involving other people because like working out at home, that is such a cute idea. Right. It's adorable, but I cannot do it. I cannot work out at home in front of a video. I have to have an appointment with somebody. Oh, yeah. Even if it's like a virtual thing where they're expecting me to log on and they can see my face. Like, I need that. So by involving the others with you, if you have a family, if you live alone, you could make it like a friend and say, you know, at this time we're going to do this online yoga class and put stuff in the let shit go box.
Yes. Yeah.
We might set it on fire. I don't know.
Possibly.
I see you have the Body Keeps Score book. Is there anything about the consequences of not letting things go from that book that you wanted to share?
I love this book, by the way. But do you mind if I read a little bit?
No, go ahead.
Okay. So it starts by saying, in other words, if an organism is stuck in survival mode, its energies are focused on fighting off unseen enemies, which leaves no room for nurture, care, and love. For us humans, it means that as long as the mind is defending itself against invisible assaults, our closest bonds are threatened, along with our ability to imagine, plan, play, learn, and pay attention to other people's needs. And so I thought that was so, like, profound. And we talk about the effects of not letting go and not, you know, checking in. It goes far beyond what we, you know, can think of. It's not just the physical body, but it affects your creativity. You know, it affects the ability for you to play and for you to learn, because it does rob you of, you know, your ability to really think straight all the time. You know, so
true.
If my energy is focused on, my body's energy is focused on trying to survive all the time and trying to keep all the stuff, you know, make things happen that I have no control over, then I'm really like saying no to all these other things. And so
by default, I
I can only do so much at one time, you know.
I agree. I personally have felt it like a wet blanket over my mind and my body, and it just, I feel like a zombie,
right?
And that's the one end. And then the other end is what you just touched on, when your body's in that fight or flight mode.
Correct.
Because of the stress response, and everything seems urgent and important all at once, but your mind can't settle on one thought long enough to solve it.
Yes.
And so really, not addressing that would create a devastating consequence with someone's job, and unless they have a very factory type position where they could check out.
Right.
But I think for most people, it does require them to be checked in.
Oh, yeah.
So that would create a lot of problems with you not maybe missing out on a promotion, or I think sometimes we have to have these even financial incentives to take care of ourselves, because we think that it will blow over when really it doesn't. The body just swallows it, and it manifests in other things. So,
absolutely.
But it doesn't. I think what's tricky about it too is it's not like, oh, I need to get my hair cut. I'm going to make a quick appointment. I'm going to get my hair cut. Done. Did it. Cross it off my list. It's like layers of the box idea, the painting idea. You mentioned you painted the other day, the yoga, the whatever it is, just trying different things and peeling back those layers. How do you know when you are okay? We started this conversation with how you know when you're not okay. How do you know if you are good?
I think that it goes back to checking in with yourself. I think it goes back to even like keeping a journal, to know, like, I might not be like the best that I've ever been, but man, I'm so much better than I was 2 weeks ago. Because a lot of times because we don't kind of like keep track of that stuff, we're very hard on ourselves. But to be able to see your progress, that is what's going to be important. So that journal might look like checking in with a friend again, That journal might look like checking in with your therapist.
So it doesn't have to be a physical journal?
No. Because I tell my friends sometimes, I'm like, sometimes a friend is like the best kind of journal. Because I can remind you, girl, you have come far. Because
you talk back to the journal boy.
Yes. Yeah, you have come a long ways, So, but just having some kind of person or thing that you can rely on, and you can have that, something that you can go back and look at and say, how am I doing? But I think first you have to be willing to do that. You have to be willing to be vulnerable first with yourself, and then also with your safe people,
So have safe people.
You have to have safe people.
Collect some.
Yeah. Find a community. I think that's important. And that's a whole nother podcast episode, how we find those safe people, what that looks like. But I do think that is important. We're not meant to live life solo.
No, we're not. And even in quarantine, we got to figure it out.
We have to figure it out.
Which is why I'm so grateful for people like you to come and share your wisdom. And, for those that don't know, she has an amazing podcast that is all about these subjects that you unpack with your partner in crime.
Yes.
And I love how y'all... the dynamic between the two of you, and sometimes you interview somebody, sometimes it's just the two of you. I just love it.
Thank you.
So as we wrap up, are there any final thoughts that you want to share wisdom wise?
One of the things I wrote down is I think we have to practice letting go daily, multiple times a day. So that might look like every time I get in my car, or every time a commercial break comes on, I'm going to stretch, or I'm going to take a deep breath when I pass. Somebody mentioned, I don't know who mentioned this to me, but they said whenever they pass under a door frame, they stop and they take a deep breath. Oh, isn't that cool?
I love that.
But to create these things that gives you, oh, I passed under a door frame. It just triggers for you to remember to do something like that. So whatever you have to do to survive within reason, do it. Because at the end of the day, your body's going to thank you. Your friends are going to thank you. Your family's going to thank you.
Yeah.
But I really think that it's important. Practicing self-care I think that is how we survive as the world is ending. Like that's how we have to remember we just have to take care of ourselves, because it is important and it's imperative to not just you and your body, but also to those around you.
Right. Because you can't control what's going on out there.
Right.
But the worry and the fear and that you can, I'll say, mitigate.
I think that yes.
Yeah. I don't know if we can control all of that, because
right.
those are helpful signals that our body gives us to
right.
tell us something something requires action. There's an action item here. It's like, the little things that
yes.
pop up on your computer. Ding.
Yes.
That's like what worry is for your body. It's just
yes.
we can't have that all the time because it wears our system down.
Correct.
So
you're so good. I mean, are you a therapist?
In my heart.
Okay. Yes.
No, girl, I just got a lot of issues.
So. Well, that was so well worded. Yes.
Well, thank you. Yeah, well, I appreciate you. Tell us where people can follow you, and especially if people want to schedule a telehealth session with you,
yes.
how can they do that?
You can go to my website. That is www.greenhousecounselingfl, as in Florida, .com. Or you can follow us on Facebook or Instagram. It's just Greenhouse Counseling. So yeah, and I am taking clients.
And can you take clients that they have to live in the state of Florida, or how does that work?
Majority of my clients are in the state of Florida. I would have to check with your state to see if they allow
okay.
that. But as a therapist in Florida, our board allows us to see other people. It just depends on their state that they're in.
Okay, so it varies state to state.
Yes, but I do have clients all the way in Miami and just like all over the state. So I am taking clients and hopefully starting some groups also.
Yes.
I think that's going to be fun.
Because then we can find community.
Absolutely.
Collect some resources.
Yes.
Have some new thoughts.
Yes.
Well, thank you so much, my friend. That was awesome.
Thank you for having me.
That was great.
Are you still listening? Just kidding, of course you are. Since you're here, here's some ways you can support the show. Stalk me on social media, leave a review, share an episode with a friend, or check out my Teespring page for delightfully sarcastic apparel. Links are in the episode description.